So this weekend, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, well, he was in Geneva, of course, with Steve Witkoff, the big help, as part of a peace talk between Russia and Ukraine. Now, Trump had provided a 28-point peace plan, 28 points, literally to end the war. But reports show that it favored Putin and Russia. Welcome back to the Michael Cohen Show on our continued journey to 500,000 subscribers. Again, phenomenal weekend thanks to you. So hit subscribe, watch, comment. Please keep the comments coming and share with family and friends because this insanity, this stupidity, it has to stop. So let's get into some of the updates from the war. Now, negotiations are allegedly continuing today, and let me show you what Rubio told reporters. Play the clip.
We arrived here today with one goal, and the goal was to take, is 28 points or 26 points, depending on which version as it continued to evolve, and try to narrow the ones that were open items. And we have achieved that today in a very substantial way. Now, obviously, like any final agreement, they'll have to be agreed upon by the presidents, and there are a couple issues that we need to continue to work on. But I think the report today is that I think today was worthwhile. It was very, very, it is probably the most productive day we have had on this issue, maybe in the entirety of our engagement, but certainly in a very long time. But work remains, and because this continues to be a working process, I don't want to declare victory or finality here. There's still some work to be done, but we are much further ahead today at this time than we were when we began this morning and where we were a week ago for certain. Whether it's Thursday, whether it's Friday, whether it's Wednesday, whether it's Monday of the following week, we want it to be soon because people are going to, between today and the time we deal with this, more people are going to die. More destruction is going to happen. Our goal is to end this war as soon as possible, but we need a little more time.
Yeah, let me be very clear. That 28-point plan that came out last week, the only way to describe it would be tantamount to taking in a brand new Bugatti and trading it in for a damaged Tesla. I mean, that's how stupid this 28-point plan was. Basically, Ukraine, you capitulate to everything that Russia wants. Give them additional land that they don't have right now. Agree not to become part of NATO. Agree to disarm. Absolutely, Vladimir. What else? Tell us, what else would you like? Meanwhile, a Ukrainian official posted this statement on X. Let me show you what he said. It says, this is a joint statement, U.S.-Ukraine meeting from today. On 23rd of November 2025, representatives of the United States and Ukraine met in Geneva for discussions on the U.S. peace proposal. The talks were constructive, focused, and respectful, underscoring the shared commitment to achieving a just and lasting peace. Both sides agreed the consultations were highly productive. The discussion showed meaningful progress toward aligning positions and identifying clear next steps. They reaffirmed that any future agreement must fully uphold Ukraine's sovereignty and deliver a sustainable and just peace. As a result of the discussions, the parties drafted an updated and refined peace framework. The Ukrainian delegation reaffirmed its gratitude for the steadfast commitment of the United States and personally President Donald J. Trump for their tireless efforts aimed at ending the war and the loss of life. Ukraine and the United States agreed to continue intensive work on joint proposals in the coming days. They will also remain in close contact with their European partners as the process advances. Final decisions under this framework will be made by the President of Ukraine and the United States. Both sides reiterated their readiness to continue working together to secure a peace that ensures Ukraine's security, stability, and reconstruction. Now, let me be very clear about something. That's not what the 28-point plan that was initially being shoved down Zelensky's throat called for. Again, it did not permit Ukraine's sovereignty, their stability, or their ability to protect themselves. It was literally a capitulation to Russia. Now, this rhetoric coming out of the White House this week been heavily critical of Ukraine. Not on Putin, not on Russia, who of course started this war, but solely critical of Ukraine. Trump posted this on Sunday morning, again claiming that Ukraine hasn't been grateful. Let me show you what he wrote. In it, he writes, the war between Russia and Ukraine is a violent and terrible one that, with strong and proper U.S. and Ukrainian leadership, would have never happened. It began long before I took office for a second time. Ho hum, here we go again, during the sleepy Joe Biden administration, and it's only gotten worse. Okay. If the 2020 presidential election was not rigged and stolen, the only thing the radical left Democrats are good at doing, there would be no Ukraine-Russia war, as there hasn't or wasn't not even a mention during my first term in office. Putin would never have attacked. It was only when he saw Sleepy Joe in action that he said, now is my chance. The rest is history, and so it continues. I inherited a war that should have never happened, a war that is a loser for everyone, especially the millions of people that have so needlessly died. Ukraine leadership has expressed zero gratitude for our efforts, and Europe continues to buy oil from Russia. The USA continues to sell massive amounts of weapons to NATO for distribution to Ukraine. Crooked Joe gave everything free, including big money. God bless all the lives that have been lost in the human catastrophe. President DJT. Now, let me be clear about something. There is not an ounce of accuracy in that entire post, that rant, whatever you want to call it, except that this is a tragedy and that there is loss of life. Everything else, again, it's all about grievance politics. Trump also then posted this morning, just this morning. Is it really possible that big progress is being made in peace talks between Russia and Ukraine? Don't believe it until you see it, but something good just may be happening. God bless America. Now, let me just turn around and say, a confusing post, there has never been one more confusing than that. So do you have some inside information that nothing is happening, or do you have some information that something is happening and you're going to pull it out of a hat like a rabbit? Well, nobody knows. You see, that's the problem. And as far as Ukrainian gratitude, how many more times do you want to see Zelensky on his knees saying, thank you, Mr. President? By the way, it's not your money, it's the American people's money, but thank you anyway, Mr. President, for all that you're doing, for helping to create peace, for helping to save lives, not just Ukrainians, by the way. More Russians have died in this conflict by a multiple than Ukrainian. Now, I also want to show you some reporting from the New York Times. Let me show you what they say. It starts off by saying, President Vladimir Putin of Russia, for his part, has sat back and watched. For the Russian leader, a Kremlin-friendly peace plan that enshrines Ukraine's perpetual subordination and vulnerability would be a win. So would a failed process that leads Mr. Trump to pull remaining support for Ukraine and further antagonize European allies. Mr. Putin weighed in on Friday in a video conference with his top security officials. The Russian leader said the 28-point plan could be the foundation for a final peace settlement, pending substantive and meaningful discussion, or Russia could keep pressing its case in Ukraine by force. Also turns around and says more Ukrainian cities will fall to Russian troops, perhaps not as quickly as we would prefer, but inevitably, Mr. Putin warned. He said such a path also suits us because Moscow was content to pursue its interests through armed confrontation. Finally, his message, his authoritarian system can outlast the resources and will of its adversaries. The West has entered a pain contest with Vladimir Putin. Who can withstand more pain, said Alexander Gabiev, director of the Carnegie Russia Eurasia Center. In this competition, Putin can be tough as nails, and his system can be tough as nails. Well, let me be crystal clear. It's fucking propaganda and nothing more than that. Russia right now is economically in the toilet. On top of that, they have lost approximately 1 million soldiers. The vast majority, male. So what happens if the war, or when the war finishes? What happens to all the mothers who have no idea what happened to their sons? What happens to the wives who aren't then reunited with their husbands, or to the children whose fathers are now gone? You think Russia's going to stand for this Putin, I don't even know what you want to call it, braggadocio, where he's going to continue? Do you remember that there were so many Russian lives lost on the battlefield that they brought in these mobile crematoriums because it was impossible to bury all the bodies? Let me tell you, that stuff doesn't sit well with the Russian people. And unfortunately for both parties, funds are actually running low, definitely for Ukraine and definitely for Russia. Let me show you a few headlines showing the difficulties for both of these countries. In it, it starts and it says, plunge in oil prices threatens Russia's vast spending on Ukraine war. The lower revenues, a result in part of President Trump's trade war, could prove more damaging to the Russian economy than the penalties the United States and its allies have already imposed. Another one said Russia's military budget shrinks as war costs hit Kremlin's economic limits. The budget indicates that Russia will continue to fight largely as it has, locking it in a grinding war of attrition. Another one turns out as Zelensky under siege as corruption case shatters Ukraine's wartime unity. An anti-Zelensky political coalition is coalescing as the president's allies are accused of enriching themselves while the country's soldiers die on the battlefield. And finally, the last one, Ukraine's cash is running low and Europe has no good plan B. The European Union wants to finance Ukraine's war efforts using a loan based on Russia's frozen assets in Belgium. If that falls through, there's no easy alternative. Now, I do want to end with two clips outlining just how insane the United States foreign policy has truly gotten. Kristen Welker, she tried to ask Scott Bessent about this 28-point plan. Bessent, of course, being the jerk-off he is, claimed that he didn't have information on who wrote it, but then proceeded to claim that a deal had been written and was at the center of it. Play the clip.
You just talked about the president's peace deals. Let's talk about Ukraine. U.S. lawmakers on both sides of the aisle, Ukrainian officials who I've spoken to, say the peace plan for Russia and Ukraine, as written, only benefits Russia. Let me ask you simply, Mr. Secretary, was this 28-point plan written by Russia?
I have no information on that, Kristen, but I can tell you I am the highest-ranking U.S. official to have visited Ukraine. I went last February, and when I went last February, I went with an economic cooperation agreement between the U.S. and Ukraine. President Zelensky pushed back against it. The same people you're just talking about there pushed back against it. Mainstream media pushed back against it. You know what? We did it 3 months later, and now it is the centerpiece for the Ukrainian economy that this agreement is even funding military plants for the very innovative military sector in the Ukraine. So
that's great. He went 9 months ago. Mazel to you. And finally, because we need more foreign leaders kissing Trump's ass, NATO Secretary Mark Rutte congratulated Trump on his worldwide peace campaign. This is NATO. Play the clip.
And it starts with a president, President Trump, who wants to end this, as he did with Pakistan, India, as he has done so successfully in Gaza, as he has done with basically eliminating the nuclear capabilities of Iran, what he has done between Armenia and Azerbaijan. So this is a president really pushing peace worldwide. This is a difficult one. He said that. He said this would be one of the easier ones. No, it was not true. It is one of the more difficult ones. But I'm sure that we will get this done. And yesterday was an important step. And of course, there will be more steps following the coming days.
Yeah, this is the problem. I get it. They're playing to Trump's ego, including NATO Secretary Mark Rutte. Serious? This is the whole problem. And this, my friends, is why we, the American people, the voters, we must make sure that the 2026 midterms go the right way, because this stupidity has to stop. And as always, thanks for listening. Hey, everyone. First of all, thanks for watching. I mean, we're going to be posting daily episodes with reactions and talking about politics. We'll be talking about everything, in fact. So please like and subscribe. Join us on this journey.